We've got a repeat of last year's final, but Leinster are hoping there won't be a repeat of the results. My name is Mark. Let's talk rugby. Leinster versus La Rochelle in the big one, the European Champions Cup final. It's at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin on Saturday, the 20th of May. Kickoff is 4:45 BST. We look at the Leinster team first. So fullback Hugh Keenan, right wing Jimmy O'Brien, centres Ringrose and Henshaw, left wing Lowe, halfbacks Ross Byrne and Gibson Park, front row Porter, Sheehan and Furlong, second row Maloney and Ryan, back row Doris, Van der Fleur and Conan. The replacements then Kelleher, Healy, Alatoa, Jenkins, Baird, McGrath, Frawley and Natai. The La Rochelle team then, fullback is Dulan, right wing is Lades, centres are Sautuni and Dante, left wing is Rule, halfbacks Hastoy and Kerbarlow, front row Wardy, Bugarit and Antonio. The second row is Sazi and Skelton, back row Bodahen, Botia and Aldrit. The replacements then Lasparak, Sclavi, Colombe, Rizel, Lavolt, Bordeaux, Delan, Bergeron and Favre. So team news, Leinster have made 11 changes from the team that lost the URC semi-final to Munster, but just 2 changes from the side that beat Toulouse in the semi-final of this one. You have Jimmy O'Brien on the right wing instead of Jordan Larmour, who doesn't make the 23. And then Robbie Henshaw is in at 12 as Charlie Natai drops to the bench. We got Ronan Kelleher as well coming onto the bench, and James Lowe being fit and able to start is a big boon for Leinster. For La Rochelle then, they make 2 changes as well to decide to beat Exeter in their semi-final. Got Jonathan Dante into the centres, and Jules Favre drops to the bench to make way for him. Dante's going to be a big player for them, I think. Then Paul Bodenhen is in at 6, and Ulta Delan drops to the bench. So Delan probably going to be disappointed with that, but he's the kind of player he can come on and really add to the team later on in the game. We look at then their paths to the final. So in the pools, Leinster to beat Racing away in round 1, 42-10. Then Gloucester home, 57-0. Gloucester away, 49-14. And then Racing at home for 36-10. They finished top, number 1 seeds. Then La Rochelle in the Pool B, they beat Northampton 46-12 at home. Then Ulster away 36-29. Ulster at home 7-3. Northampton away 31-13. Also topped the pool and were the number 2 seeds. In the last 16, Leinster beat Ulster at the Aviva 30-15. Just had too much of them, and Ulster couldn't really, in the second half, put much pressure on them. La Rochelle beat Gloucester, but only just. They had to, a late try got them through that one. So that was, a bit touch and go for them. But in the semi-finals then, quarterfinals, Leinster beat Leicester 55-24. Fairly easy win for them. La Rochelle, a bit more difficult against Saracens, 24-10, but it felt like La Rochelle were in control all the way through. And I think tight games like that and the last 16 against Gloucester is really going to stand to them in this one as well, because if they can keep it tight against Leinster, they have that ability to come late in the game and come over the top of teams. In the semi-finals then, Leinster beat Toulouse 41-22. Toulouse, I think, moving Dupont to 10 and then Entamac into 12 when they had to reshuffle their team really was, not great for them, and kind of took a lot of the impact that those two have on the game away from them as well. But Leinster still looked fairly comfortable towards the end. And that one, same with La Rochelle against Exeter. Exeter get the first try, but then La Rochelle, great response from there, and just kind of stepped it up towards the end as well. No real kind of late histrionics or comeback or whatever from Exeter in that one either. Two teams that kind of in their semi-final did what they needed to do and didn't have to kind of sweat on the result. This is a rematch of last year's final. La Rochelle won that one 24-21 with a last-minute try. So if they're anywhere close to Leinster towards the end and they need a try to get it, they know they've done it in the past and they'll feel confident that they can do it again. Leinster are going to have to be better in the defence towards the end if that scenario comes up again. We have 13 of the same Leinster team from last year. The only two changes are Ross Byrne in for Johnny Sexton. Sexton is a huge miss for Leinster towards the end of this season. Guy had been in fantastic form before he got injured, but Ross Byrne, I think, is a much better player than he was last year. Dan Sheehan then in for Ronan Kelleher. Sheehan, we know how dynamic he is. We know he has that try threat in him as well. Kelleher is going to be on the bench as well, so we're not losing his impact. For La Rochelle, then 8 of this same team that started the final last year. We got Sautini, Hastoy, Caraballo, Wardy, Sazi, Bodahen, and Botia all coming into the team. Like a lot of those are actually upgrades on last year's team. Like Caraballo, excellent player. Botia, that guy in the it was the quarterfinals, right? Was absolutely amazing at the breakdown. The amount of ball he was winning at the breakdown, turnovers, penalties. He's an absolute menace. And Leinster really going to have to be careful of that. In terms of what the camps have been saying then, Dylan Lades has been speaking about La Rochelle, so said that they're going to look to take the initiative early on and play more rugby. They don't want to, retreat into their shell. They want to come out fighting against this Leinster team. They also said that Leinster are going to want to come out firing shots, having lost at home to Munster in that semi-final. Said that Leinster are a quality international players, a lot of them in the team, and they know how to react to the loss. And the La Rochelle team have got to be ready for that. Cian Healy then had been speaking earlier on in the week. He said that there's no indication on your jersey of how many URC titles you've won, and for him, the Heineken Cup is the big one. Getting that 5th star on the jersey is what they're going for. Bit of controversy about that. Some people feeling like that maybe it was a little bit of sour grapes towards Munster with that semi-final loss. But I think, you can look at it both ways. Like, I think what he said is true, that the Heineken Cup is the big one. Like, most people, I think almost everyone would swap a URC title for a Heineken Cup win. But at the same time, you want to be in those finals. The URC is becoming a bigger competition season on season. And, whether if Munster can win it, they're going to be absolutely delighted with that. And I believe that if this Leinster team have gone into the final of that as well, they wouldn't be kind of sulking at the fact that they had a URC title. They would be happy with that too. So I can see kind of both sides of the story there. Josh van der Fleer then has been talking as well, said, team has learned a lot in terms of their experience along the way as they've grown. They learned valuable lessons last year, and he'd like to think that they're a better team this year than they were last year. He said La Rochelle have been very impressive all season, and the fact that they've gotten to 3 Heineken Cup finals in a row just speaks to how brilliant they are and how very consistent that team is as well. So there's going to be a big challenge that, just like last year, it's going to be a tough game against what is a brilliant team. Said La Rochelle had amazing support last year in Marseille, and he's hoping for the same from the Leinster fans this year in Dublin. And I think, like a lot of the Leinster team, my worry is they haven't played since that semi-final. Some of them have been in and out of the team in the URC, but nothing like that. Starting 15, the bulk of them have not played together since then. So for me, that's a bit worry that maybe they're not going to be as match sharp as they could be. In my opinion, it's just my opinion. I think once you get to knockout rugby, you play your best team. And if people get injured, well, the players who shined during the season, then they get their opportunity. They come in surrounded by absolute quality, around them in the team, and it actually helps them to perform better in pressure situations. I can see why Leo Cullen decides to rotate the team. He's got a massive squad. Rotation during the season really does help them manage those players. But what are you managing them for? You're managing them for the knockout stages to win the trophies, right? So for me, it's like, play those players. Yes, some of those players who did really well all the way through the URC don't get the reward by starting in the big games and the quarterfinals or the semi-finals, but you're more likely to get to the final and to maybe lift the trophy. But I can see kind of two sides of it, but still, for me, I'd rather us play our best 23, and if we get injuries, it's opportunities for players. But I think losing that semi-final to Munster is definitely going to be added motivation for the team, but it's hard. Like, they've got so many motivating factors for this that, you have to think that a lot of these players are thinking, we've got to do it tomorrow. Like, this is our big, big chance to really get that fifth star. But I think in terms of how the game might go, La Rochelle, I think they're going to go after Leinster at the breakdown, especially with Bottia and Dante. Those two at the breakdown, they're menaces. Bottia, he was absolutely on fire earlier on in the competition. He's back now in the team as well. He's going to want to, show his worth to the team. And, teams that have beaten Leinster in the past, we saw Munster did it in the semi-final recently. La Rochelle did it to them last year. We've seen Exeter do it to them. We've seen Saracens do it to them as well. It's you be physical, you get to their ball, you slow it down, you make the breakdown an absolute dogfight, you turn them over, and you deny them that possession that they thrive on. Leinster, they're going to have to resource the ruck properly. Leinster like to put as few players as they can into the ruck, because then they have so many players fanned across the pitch, either in defence or in attack as options as well. But I think if La Rochelle are piling people in, Leinster need to respond. There's no point in losing your own ball just because you want to keep people on their feet. So they're going to have to adapt on the fly if that's what's happening in the game. We saw last year that they find it hard to adapt that way, and we saw also with a lot of this team were in the Ireland team as well. We saw Ireland struggle with the same thing last year, but this year we saw that Ireland had that adaptability, and these are a lot of the same players, not exactly the same 15, but fairly close. And that adaptability, just because they're wearing blue or white or wherever they're going to be wearing tomorrow, is not going to just leave them. So hopefully they're going to be able to produce that. But I think as well that one thing for Leinster, we got James Ryan there. His work rate at the ruck, being able to clear out rucks as well, is going to be key for the team. And I think Ryan Bird, when he comes on as well, Leinster, they can be competitive at the ruck, especially with the likes of Van der Fleer getting in there, Doris as well. Porter generally is great. He's a great threat at the ruck. We haven't actually seen much of that in recent times from him, though. And, this would be a great time for him to step back up to that level. Because what we've seen from Porter is that he's getting a lot of heat in the scrum and he's giving away penalties. And then when he's competing at the ruck, the fact that he's giving away a lot of penalties, sometimes he's getting pinged there as well. And I think it's about time for us to see the Porter of old coming, who can get in there, win the turnovers or win the penalties as well. It would be the perfect stage for him to do that. Leinster, I think they're going to look to get parity in the scrum, while La Rochelle will feel that if they are getting a nudge in the scrum, they're the ones more likely to keep the ball in and look for penalties, whereas Leinster will more likely look to get the ball out from a stable platform and attack with ball in hand, because that's where they're dangerous. They don't want to get into kind of that really big physical battle. They want to stand up physically, but they don't want to make everything about physicality. So that's going to be, I think, interesting there. In terms of the lineouts then, I think Leinster are really going to try and attack that La Rochelle lineout and make that messy for them. So you'll probably see that La Rochelle are the ones who are putting the pressure on in the scrum, and Leinster are the ones putting the pressure on in the lineout. But only one team is going to come out on top, and those are going to be factors that play into that. Then for Leinster as well, I think a big thing is the fact that Frawley and Natai are on the bench, and there's no Harry Byrne there. And I think that's kind of, there's two things about that. One, I think it's a reward for Natai because his recent performances have been amazing for a guy that hadn't played for so long to just seamlessly come into the team and produce at such a level. I think that put him a little bit ahead of Byrne in terms of being the 23rd player, but also I feel that Harry Byrne, he doesn't yet have that experience at this highest level. His game management maybe isn't quite up there, and we kind of saw a little bit of that in the semi-final against Munster. And I think maybe he's got, another season or two to go before he's going to be trusted really to be that guy to come on and close out a game. Frawley, I think they've got more confidence in him, but I think they would prefer to have Ross Byrne play the 80 minutes and Frawley just to come on maybe in the centres for potential injuries, or, if they feel like they need some fresh legs on there if they're chasing the game. I think both benches are packed with impact players as well. You've got so many Irish internationals on the Leinster bench, but you've also got Jason Jenkins, who's had an absolutely great season for Leinster, and I can see him coming on and making a big contribution. Then you got Keely, Healy and Ala Latoa. What a quality replacement front row to have. We got Baird then as well. He's probably a little unlucky not to get the nod in their selection. But I think, with tired legs, when he comes on, the guy has serious pace for, not just a second row, but for a forward. The guy is crazy fast, and him coming on, getting the ball in space and running at tired defenders is gonna be fun watching the giraffe gallop up the field, hopefully. But then for La Rochelle, then you got Sclavi, Lavolt and Favre all took part in the winning 23 from last year. I think Lavolt actually started the game. So they've got experience of not only beating this Leinster team, but beating them in the final of this competition as well. Then you've got Ultan Delan, is an absolute class operator. Being able to bring him off the bench is a real luxury for them. Then the replacement front row, they're not going to have any fears standing toe-to-toe with either Leinster starters or the replacements either. There's not going to be a drop in quality for them, I think, when they come on either. These are just two 23s absolutely dripping in quality, and both are willing to go right to the 80th minute and beyond to win this. I think this is going to be absolutely back and forth and probably a very close game. I can't really see either team pulling away and it being comfortable for them. I think one of the two teams is going to be sweating in the last minute or two while the other team was looking for that score that would actually clinch it for them. I think it's going to be that close again, just like last year. It is Stuart Lancaster's last game in charge of this Leinster team. They're going to want to send him off with a win. But listening to the La Rochelle players, you can see that there's no doubt about the fact that Ronan O'Gara really motivates them too. So I think in terms of playing for the coach, I think it's kind of even between the teams there. I'm obviously a Leinster fan, but this is a hell of a La Rochelle team that they're playing against. And, there would be, I think, no shame at all in losing to them if that's what happens. But I think being in Dublin is going to kind of give that little bit edge to Leinster to get that fifth star.